Hi, I'm Lamborghini C, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I am going to give you a review of the infamous Icon Condos in Brickell, Miami. So I have to tell you, I was so excited to stay at the Icon Brickell Miami location because I'd heard so much about it. I was seeing it all online a few years ago when I actually stayed there. And so you'll see like some footage just of the condo that I stayed in. And then I'll come back and kind of tell you guys about my situation. So enjoy the footage and stay tuned. So those of you who know me, you know that Miami Brickell is like a second home to me. It is one of my most favorite places to be. I love the ambiance. I love the energy there. I began to like kind of build a network of people, that I kind of hang with there, or who have become my people when I'm in town. And I just love it. Like it gives you that downtown appeal, kind of like a New York City proper gives you, but in a much smaller, condensed, I feel manageable capacity. I've always said I don't think that I could ever like live in New York City proper just because of all the fast hustle and bustle. But it is nice, that things are convenient and you can just go and walk wherever you need to go. And I feel like Miami Brickell gives you that wonderful mesh, especially with being within, a few stones away of the water, which is my thing. I'm a Pisces and I love the water. So that is just my thing. And so the first time that I went to Miami Brickell and actually stayed, I actually decided to stay at the Icon Towers, which, I'd started to see a lot about, online. And again, this was a few years ago, right? And so I was like, they looked really nice, from the photos and what have you. And I, booked an Airbnb. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to, stay there and see how I like it. Well, I have to tell you guys, um, the property itself, like you can tell when it was initially built or constructed, which I believe it's probably been a little over 10 years ago. It's been some time, or maybe longer than that. The Icon Towers have been up for quite some time. And so I'm going to just cut to the chase. So the reality is, in person, like, they are kind of worn. They do, like today, they actually do need a little bit of work, a little bit of tender love and care to them. And again, that can be for several reasons. One, they've been around for so long. Two, they've kind of become, or, the last couple of years, they were like a staple of like Airbnb places to stay. One, because you usually could get a nice condo right on the Biscayne Bay, so you'd have water like right when you walk out on your balcony. And that is just, imagine like waking up in the morning. Like, I would just get up in the morning and I would just sit out there and just meditate, so I know folks really love that. Aside from that, if you just keep that perspective in mind, I think that things are okay. Now, of course, I had a little bit of drama with the condo I stayed in. First of all, I will tell you, because it is so busy with the Airbnb traffic, I will forewarn you, if you do decide to stay there, just be prepared. So here are like a couple little notes to be prepared. Um, One, they have this rule that you cannot check. Someone has to check you in. There has to be like a representative or an Airbnb host or somebody ordained from the host that has to check you in, right? Even though the folks, that are nice and courteous behind the desk are looking right at you, but they can't check you in. So my situation was, I was sitting there waiting for like about an hour and a half. And finally, the nice young lady behind the desk, she actually asked someone else's like check-in host if they could just check me in for my Airbnb, because I was sitting and waiting and we're texting back and forth, with my Airbnb host. And, like I said, about an hour and a half goes by. Now, mind you, I actually flew into town. I got into town probably about 10 or 10:30. And, I got a car that dropped me off in Little Habana. And I just spent the day in Little Habana, which was cool. And then um, this lovely man, who I affectionately now call Uncle Joe, he actually dropped me off at the Airbnb spot at the Icon Towers in Miami Brickell. And, so I'm thinking I'm going to be able to get in there and get checked in and kind of get refreshed because, it was like hot. It was the summertime. And so, like I said, I was hanging, I was kicking it, in Little Havana. And so, I kind of was disappointed because, like I said, it was at least a good hour and a half sitting there waiting. So then finally, when we get up to the condo, I kind of figured or understood why I was waiting so long. Because when I first got in, I'm like, oh my goodness, like you can see from the video, like the space itself is nice. Like, the whole concept, the layout, just like with the open space with the windows, I just love it, right? Because it allows for like sunshine and stuff to just, come in and, what have you. And so it's just gorgeous and beautiful. And so, um, I looked around and I'm thinking, okay, this is cool. So as I began to like actually walk through the property itself, I started to see like chairs were broken, the legs of chairs. There were like holes in the couch, like from somebody just putting out their cigarettes on the couch. There was a hole in the wall um, in the bathroom. It was just, and it looked like it had barely been like broom swept. Like you could tell that the floor was like barely swept. And so what I think happened is I think that there probably were some Airbnb like, tenants or whatever that just checked out that morning. And I think by the time the cleaners got there, he or she, they probably saw the damage to the property and didn't know what to do, right? And so instead of the host actually handling things properly and like maybe calling and giving me a heads up and saying, hey, we're going to take something off of your rate, that didn't happen. They tried to act like nothing happened, like it was a total surprise to them. So of course I called and alerted him, and and unfortunately he kind of tried to make it about him, like Oh, I can't believe I have this, like, yeah, I'm going to have to replace all this. And it's like, so I asked, like, I'm like, I need you to give me like half of my payment back or something. Like, let's make this right. And instead of that, he actually gave me, he said, you have like 30 minutes to decide if you want to stay or not. Now, mind you, this happened to be the weekend that Floyd Mayweather had his fight in Miami. So any and everybody was sitting down there. And that wasn't even the initial reason I was going, like, or coming into town. It was like the middle of that week. But there was nothing. Like, I called around. I even called to like the parent hotel of the Icon Towers, which is like the W hotel, that's kind of next door. There was like, I couldn't get anything, like no consistent rooms for that weekend. And again, I flew all the way there from Michigan. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stay. So then they offered to have someone come by that night to like fix like the hole in the wall or what have you. Like, there were scuffs all on the wall. Like, it looked like there were just some frat boys or something that just probably had a blast, right before I got in there. And, it was disappointing because I spent my first night like waiting on the handyman to come and having to sit there. Like, I actually had some other business that I was doing. Like, I was on a video conference call while he's like working. It's like 8, 9 o'clock with a complete stranger, in the condo with me, like patching up walls and stuff. So I was highly disappointed with that because I didn't expect to have to come and manage their property, And so, so once we got through that, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to make the best of it. And that's exactly what I did. Like I said, aside from the horrible host, which I will never, ever, ever stay at one of his properties, which he has a couple, especially in the Icon Towers. But whenever I go to book, I just skip past his name because I see that he's branched out and has some properties in some of the other buildings there in Brickell, Miami. But no, I will never stay at one of his properties again. And so, like I said, aside from that, I just made the best of the trip. But like I said, I could see the overall concept and the beauty of it. Since, I've kind of made it a regular, like just going back and forth between Michigan and Miami Brickell. And so I found other places. I've been able to stay at other, buildings and residences, and I've had much better experiences. And so, I'll share those, of course, in future videos with you guys. I can't wait to share that. I actually kind of have my spot that I stay at now, which I plan to actually purchase a property there and maybe use as an investment property too. But like I said, the Icon Towers, the concept of all of it looks good. But I think, right now, it may be dependent on if you're in a particular age bracket like me, for somebody in their 40s, yeah, it was a little played, right? And the other thing too, is, maybe, to be fair, there may be a different experience for those that actually live, like permanently live in the condos. Because what I gathered is I was in, I think, Tower 3. And so it kind of seemed as though Tower 3 may have pretty much been mostly Airbnb. And again, there was just so much traffic, people coming and going constantly, checking in, checking out, all their luggage, all their bags and stuff. So again, like I said, it looks worn. It's worn, but it's not like it's unbearable. And the reality is, if I didn't have that initial situation, with the Airbnb host, that might have, kind of made me feel a little bit different. I did think that the halls were dark, like kind of eerily dark, like kind of when you got off the hotel and, had to walk to your condo, especially if you're by yourself. That was a little eerie to me, you know. The good thing is that, again, like pretty much any residence um, in Miami Brickell. They're all kind of set up like hotels for the most part, where they have, like your concierge service when you first get in there, and they're always usually very helpful. And typically you have to have some kind of key fob or something to even go and get into the elevator. So that provides a little bit of a level of security, right? So, you can kind of feel a little safe there. And during that trip, honestly, guys, I didn't even make it to the pool area, right? And so I will tell you that, like I've been thinking, as I started this process and journey of kind of, evaluating if I wanted to get a place actually physically in Miami Brickell. I did kind of consider Icon, but one of the things that kind of deterred me from it was, again, there's 3 towers and there's roughly about 600 condos in each tower, right? And so, going to the pool at that point, like that's 1,800 condos. So going to the pool is a major event. And I just said, you know what? I don't know that I want like a place that I'm like spending a significant amount of time at. Like if I'm going down to the pool, I don't want to feel like I have to be glammed up because I'm going to get in the water. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I'm not getting my hair wet. No, honey, I'm getting in the water. I'm going to luxuriate and I'm going to enjoy myself and have a good time. And then I'm going to lay in the sun and dry off and probably fall asleep under the sun and sun gaze, and then probably get up and jump back in the water. And so, yeah, I don't want it to have to be a whole major situation just because I want to go down to the pool area. But like I said, I think for some folks, they may like it, but for me, I'm cool on it. I had my one stay, so I'm good. I'm good. But like I said, I can't wait to come back and talk to you guys about, some of the other places that I've stayed in Miami Brickell and my most favorite place of all. But again, this is Lamborghini C. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye.